Hello and welcome to the TMC Newsroom. My name is Rich Tehrani. We're at Interop 2011 in Las Vegas. On our program today is Dirk Gates, who's the CEO of Xirrus. Dirk, how are you?
Doing good, Rich. Glad to be here.
Glad to have you, and as always, I've got to say that we're using your access points in our office. They work splendidly well. We moved into our office about 14 or 15 months ago, and they've been flawless. So
it's good to hear.
Quick testimonial plug before you get
Thank you very
grilled
much.
on this interview. So what's new in the company?
So what's new? Well, just the continuing exploding growth in Wi-Fi. This time, I mean, probably a year ago, tablets were just getting started. Now it is the fundamental driver of Wi-Fi expansion in the enterprise. This massive influx of tablet computing devices and like devices that don't have the opportunity to be connected to wire. It's just driving this massive demand for pervasive Wi-Fi in the enterprise.
Now, you're a tech veteran, a visionary, serial entrepreneur, and some of the predictions you've made to me when I was in your office 3 years ago or so was that wired would be replaced by wireless, and that there will be a proliferation of devices which we will see that will not have wires, and subsequently companies will be forced to have wireless networks, but also in density, and that's where your company really specializes, right? It's density.
Absolutely, that's been our vision from day one, that Wi-Fi would replace Ethernet in the enterprise, and it's coming to fruition. You just see the massive proliferation of devices that don't have wired networking as an option, and just the explosion is massive. We saw it first in education. If you look at universities in K through 12, past couple of years, just the number of wireless devices has been massive. A great example, as we were talking about before, Carnegie Mellon University installed our wireless in their dorms 3 years ago. And when they first turned it on, 5,000 undergraduate students, 4,000 unique wireless devices on their network.
Per year, right?
Per year. Beginning of last school year, that number climbed to 7,000 unique wireless devices. I was just out there a couple of weeks ago. It's now up to 13,000.
Wow.
It's almost an average of 3 devices per student. And this is the sort of thing that's going to be happening in the enterprise starting now. Those kids are leaving, heading into the workplace, expecting that same sort of pervasive wireless network so they can have their tablet and their smartphone and their notebook. They probably won't be bringing their gaming consoles with them, but they're going to expect to have that same Wi-Fi coverage.
So really, and it's not that unusual if you just stop and think about it, right? Because like you said, there's printers, there's gaming, there's tablets, there's laptops, there's iPods, there's, what else? Any other devices that I missed? There's virtually a slew of other types of devices such as the Sony Dash,
yep.
Picture frames, the
cameras.
Chumby, is that the other one, the other device that everyone in Silicon Valley seems to have?
Yep.
So that proliferation is what you were talking about, and we're seeing it continue.
Right, and whereas in the past there had been probably the initial thought in the enterprise was how do I keep these devices off my network and keep myself safe? I think now the attitude has shifted to I've got to accept these devices, I've got to support bring your own device, because they're coming in anyway, and they're figuring out how to do it so they get the right sort of experience, user experience that they're expecting, and they can do it in a secure and reliable way.
Now, your company also provides the access points for other environments that have high levels of density, such as events like Interop here, right?
Absolutely. Events, conventions, trade shows, stadiums have always been a big market for us as well because of the density.
And a company like RIM, when they had their announcement of the playbook.
Absolutely. So just last week, we were at the RIM show when they announced the playbook. There we had 40 of our arrays, which contain anywhere, in that case it was 8 or 12 access points per array. They had tens of thousands of users, Wi-Fi users at the show. In fact, they gave away 6,000 playbooks at the show. This is another great example. Interop, here we're covering 1 million square feet with 20 of our devices. So the savings in deployment time, the savings in cabling cost and back-end infrastructure is massive for a show like this. They're able to do a setup in half a day with 20 cables, and this is what would traditionally take with legacy APs would have probably taken hundreds of APs to do, and they can do it with 20 devices.
And so the vision of this company really was from you seeing cell phone towers and noticing the way that they were laid out, how they kind of had this triangular antenna array system, and you realized that enterprises would eventually need something similar, something industrial grade, like a service provider.
Wi-Fi would absolutely have to go down the same path. If you think about it, you're absolutely right. On a cell tower, you don't see one or two radios. You see a dozen or sometimes dozens of radios on a tower. And the reason is, as cell towers, as the cellular technology was expanding, the only affordable way to increase capacity and coverage was to add the directional antennas to get better coverage and to add more radios to get better capacity. And they could do that without adding more base stations.
Right.
It's somewhat sad to think today that the majority of Wi-Fi is still being deployed one or two radios at a time.
Absolutely.
Taking home technology and trying to deploy it in the enterprise with some software to help manage it better. But you're fundamentally deploying one or two radios at a time. What we've done is taken that cell tower concept, bringing it indoors and making an indoor Wi-Fi cell tower. We'll deploy anywhere from 8 to 12 to 16 access points at a time, same circular array, long-range antennas. The net result is you're deploying 75% fewer devices than you would with traditional APs, and you're doing it in 1/4 of the time. You're able to do a Wi-Fi installation in a flash.
So when I first met you, I don't even think we had tablets on the market a number of years back. And now that we do have tablets and they're being sold, I mean, there's over 100 million, if my memory serves, probably closer, 150 million, probably close to 200 million soon, total tablets in the market, if not more. The challenge now is that we now have flash points that are walking. We didn't have that challenge when I spoke with you, because really you'd have to be sitting at a desk. So at least you kind of had a sense that the conference rooms would be busy, but it's possible now for 30 people to be in a kitchen area with their tablets simultaneously streaming the World Cup or whatever it is that they're streaming. So you could be putting unbelievable strain on these access points and your network now because of the mobile devices, and that's not to mention smartphones, some of which are, for all practical purposes, small tablets, some of the Android devices.
And, you know, the education market has seen this for years. They are the ultimate example of flash traffic. 30, 40, 60 students show up in a classroom, and bam, you have a ton of traffic in that one area, and then they're going to move. And you're right, enterprise was thinking, not an issue, we don't have density, we don't have flash traffic, everybody just sits at their desk with a notebook until tablets came along. And now you're seeing the exact same thing, flash traffic in the middle of an enterprise. All of a sudden, either in a conference room or in a congregating point, the kitchen, sometimes just in the hallway, everybody whips out their smartphone or their Wi-Fi device, and you instantly have flash traffic. It's something, again, it's been great for us to cut our teeth in the education market, as we've been able to develop the Wi-Fi that has the capability to handle the highest capacity, the most density, and that's now translating perfectly into enterprise needs.
So what's next for the company?
What's next? Well, we're going to continue to expand the product line, both on the high end and the low end, even higher capacity, and then also coming out with devices where you've got areas you just need a little more. You'll be able to backfill some Wi-Fi. We're going to be targeting more enterprise-specific features to the feature set to be able to handle the types of applications and traffic you see in enterprise that you haven't seen in education. And we're specifically tailoring that. But most importantly, we're going to be focused on user experience. We think that that's going to be critical to really see Wi-Fi replace Ethernet. User experience has to match the wire. And so we're doing things with proactive monitoring of user experience, proactive alerting of users when their devices have out-of-date software, out-of-date drivers, letting the network operators know when their users are potentially not getting the best or the most out of the Wi-Fi so that they can take advantage of that. We're really driving to have this wire-like experience on the Wi-Fi network.
That's great. Well, Dirk, thanks for being on the program today. It's great. Great to see you as always.
Great.